the next PNP government intends to move Jamaica in the right direction.
Yes, my people, good afternoon. I have to make a comment this evening on what I see going around, which is an attack on the goodly psychiatrist, Dr. Sophia Longmore. There's been an attack on her from members of the Rise United movement within the PNP just because she came out and did her patriotic duty in what we have all been thinking and what many PNP people have said on many platforms over the years about Mark Golding's temperament, Mark Golding's poor judgment, poor decision making. We've all seen and had that discussion on the social media platform over the last 4 years. I personally have had those discussions privately and publicly with members of the People's National Party. So, we talk about this dunce culture in the PNP, and I don't think we talk serious enough about it. It's not funny and it's not cute. So they're pushing around pictures of Dr. Longmore, of her wedding and marriage to a Caucasian man. And it says, I understand that Dr. Sophia Longmore's racial outburst against comrade leader Mark Golding to be a consequence of her divorce from Alex, a Caucasian former European Union diplomat in 2024. Blah, 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 and it goes on and on. Now, when we talk about the dunce culture in the PNP, guys, what we're talking about is the fact that Dr. Longmore spoke from a psychological perspective and not a skin color perspective. But the PNP's dunce culture people, they will not see nor understand that. They cannot understand the difference between a comment or an evaluation made based on someone's actions and their judgment rather than their skin color or ethnicity. Now, of course, the dunce culture PNP, they are in a state of confusion because they cannot attack or speak to Dr. Longmore on merit because what they have is a shackle wielding Englishman, Mark Golding, holding up shackles over a black man's head. Now, how do you defend that, or how do you talk about that without acknowledging that the perpetrator of this image of slavery is an Englishman? How do you do that? They can't do that. And that is where they're trying to defend Mark Golding, and they can't. So they go after Dr. Longmore with her marriage to a Caucasian man. And it doesn't matter because she's free to marry whosoever she wants to marry, just like Mark Golding married to a black Sandra Golding. Nobody's talking about Mark Golding's skin color. The woman was talking solely about his poor judgment as a person, his poor decision making as a person. She never, and in fact, she categorically stated that this has nothing to do with his skin color. This has nothing to do with the fact that he held up the shackle in saying that he's making a political statement against the prime minister. She X out them there. What she's talking about is the fact that he held up the shackles, and there's nowhere in the world today that you will find an image of what Mark Golding did, which says that he has a problem making good judgment. When they came to Mark Golding with that idea, if he had the ability to exercise good judgment, he would have said, absolutely not. I will not do this. But because Mark Golding has poor judgment, and let me just be frank, there are people who have said other things, who have used other clinical terms, such as autism and Asperger's syndrome. People have been talking about this for a long time. People have been saying it must be on the spectrum. Because of what? Because of his judgment. Because the judgment and the decision to go and hold up those shackles over the black man's head is very poor, and it's something that normal minded people don't do. Only an abnormal mind, and I'm speaking as somebody with knowledge and education in psychology, an abnormal minded person would not see anything wrong with it. Only the abnormal mind would take the decision to do that. So, what Dr. Longmore did in the Senate was to show the contrast between what is a normal mind and an abnormal mind, and how an abnormal minded person cannot and should not be trusted to lead a country because their decision making and judgment will be poor. It's very simple, you know. So the dunce culture in the PNP, the dunce people in the PNP, they're going to talk about skin color because they see that the offense of skin color is against Mark Golding when he held up those shackles over Big Stonehead to bring back grim memories of slavery. That is it. So whether Dr. Longmore did marry to a black man, Chinese man, white man, it no matter. The fact still remain that Mark Jefferson Golding, who held up the shackles over Big Stonehead, exercised poor judgment, poor decision making, and therefore he is not qualified. He is unfit to be the Prime Minister of Jamaica. It is not rocket science, my people. PNP people, it is not rocket science. So when you're going to go for Dr. Longmore's wedding photograph and photograph of, her husband and she together, what you're doing is showing that you are fully done. That is what you're doing. You're doing something that proves what, most people say. You guys over there all have a brain dysfunctional problem. And if people go take up Sandra Golding and put out photographs of her and Golding and Mark Golding, Uno would say, oh, this is not right. If people start talking about the fact that that lady was not able to get an education where she can come out and speak on behalf of Mark Golding, you guys get offended. When people come out and say, how come she married to Golding and she can't drive and she don't have nothing for really come say to the public in defense of her husband, or to get into her feminine energy and, promote her husband, make people gravitate to her husband. You guys will say that's unfair. You shouldn't be talking about his wife. But look at what you're doing. You're doing just what you would not like other people to do, you know. And, if people start this conversation out of social media, will say, him lock her up in a house from she how much year was she pregnant and all she do is produce kids and him not help her do nothing else in her life. Him just have her there. And when she come out and how she dress. Guys, be careful. Be careful what you do. Because what you don't like for yourself, don't do it unto others. You hear? That's all I'm going to say to the PNP people them who are taking on Dr. Longmore for doing her patriotic duty of telling the nation what she feels is wrong about this opposition. She's not the only one saying it. Everybody's talking about it. What you all need to do is find a competent, a normal, let me not use the word normal, find a competent and a fit-minded individual to represent your party. That's what you need to do. Because we don't want to be talking about this kind of thing. We want to be talking about development, policies, and all these things that matter to the Jamaican people. Okay?
The next PNP government intends to move Jamaica in the right direction.